So this lesson is for an absolute beginner, somebody who has never played the guitar. I'm going to cover what I would show you in the first lesson. And of course you can use this lesson to start learning how to play guitar. So the very first thing I cover is the string names. Now it's important because I'm going to be referencing them throughout many lessons. So it's really important that you understand the names right off the bat. So here's the best way to learn them. There are 6 strings, but the very top string and the very bottom string have the same name. So we call this one E, and this one is also called E. So that's easy to memorize. So we start there, E and E. Okay. The next one would be the A string, second from the top. And I like to couple it with the string that's a second from the bottom because it's the B string. So if you think of the alphabet, A and B. So just to recap, the low E string is here, E, we call it E, and the high E string is also called E. So we have E and E, and then we have A and B. And that leaves the 2 strings in the middle. I don't have anything good to try and memorize those, but maybe dog, D and G, so no O. So dog without the O, D and G. So now we would go E, A, B, D, and G. Your next step would be able to repeat them by memory without skipping them. So you just go E, A, D, G, B, and E. And then I would ask the student, can you do it backwards? E, B, G, D, A, E. Once I'm confident that they have a rough grasp of it, we'll move on to the next step. The next step is knowing your finger names. Again, because I'm going to be referencing them a lot during lessons. So not everyone knows the names of their fingers, so I always cover it even with adults. So this finger in the world of guitar we call index. Some people call it pointer, but in the world of guitar we call it index. This one is obviously middle, the ring finger, and the pinky finger, and your thumb. There's also a number system that we use in guitar, which I typically don't show during the first lesson because I don't want to confuse people, but just if you look at a book, you will see a number system. So finger number 1, finger number 2, finger number 3, and finger number 4. But we already have so many numbers covering so many other things in the world of guitar that I like to use the finger names instead. The last thing you have to know before you can play anything is how to play a note on the guitar. So what is a fret? Well, a fret is signified by these little boxes here, which are separated by this metal wire. And that's what a fret is. And there is a way to press your finger on a fret, because if we look at the first fret, it's kind of a big box in compared to the smaller ones because they get smaller as they go up. There is a bad place to put your finger and a good place to put your finger. The best place to put your finger is directly before the metal wire, but not on top. That's where you get the easiest, cleanest note. A terrible place to put your finger is in the exact opposite, as far as possible away from the metal. Now, you could actually fret a note here, but you have to put a lot of pressure, okay? So always try and go for as close as you can to the fret wire. Sometimes you can't, sometimes you have to settle for the middle. So now you're ready to play something, and when it comes to beginners, the best thing to do is to start with single notes. So there's 2 things I recommend to start off. I recommend an exercise, and I recommend single note songs. So exercises are highly effective, but they're boring. So we're going to be coupling them with songs. So let's start off with a basic single note exercise to coordinate your left and right hands. So we're going to hit the low E string open with no fingers. That's what open means. And then you're going to take your index finger and you're going to press on the first fret of the low E string. And then take your middle finger, put it on the second fret of the low E string. Take your ring finger, put it on the third fret of the low E string. And then we go down to the A string and hit it open. We continue this process. Index on 1, middle on 2, or ring on 3. And when you're picking, you're holding the pick like this, you can see, and you're picking down. You're just down, 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 down. Later on, we're going to be mixing down and up, but for now, just do down picks. You're going to repeat that whole exercise all the way down, of course a bit slower than this, until you reach the bottom of the last string. When you get to there, you're gonna reverse it, and you go 3, 2, 1, 0, change strings. 3, 2, 1, 0, change strings. Do that all the way back to the top, and that will count as one repetition through this exercise. If it's your first time doing this, I recommend doing it 3 times and then moving on to something different. And every time you pick up the guitar and you have a practice session, you're going to be doing that exercise 3 times. Do it first because it's a boring exercise, and do the funner stuff later. So speaking of funner stuff, we should look at a single note song. So there are lots of songs that you can learn, but I like to teach a classic called Smoke on the Water. And Smoke on the Water we're going to be doing on 1 string, on the D string, which is the 3rd from the top. That string. And Smoke on the Water, we're going to split into 3 sections. So section number 1 looks like this: 0, 3, 5. Pay attention to the fingers I'm using. A lot of students will just want to use 1 finger for this. Don't do that because we don't want to have any bad habits right away. We want to build good habits. So 0, 3 with the index finger, 5 with the ring finger, all on the D string. You're going to play that at least 3 times in a row or until you have it memorized. And then we move on to part number 2. Part number 2 works like this, also on the same string. 0, 3, 6 with the ring finger, 5 with the middle finger. Okay, so once again, play part 2 until you have it memorized. 0, 3, 6, 5. Now there's a part 3, but we're not going to move on to it just yet. We have to confirm that you have part 1 and part 2 memorized. So you're going to play them back to back now. So part 1, 0, 3, 5, 0, 3, 6, 5. Okay, so play part 1 and part 2 until you have it memorized, and then finally learn part 3. Here's part 3. 0, 3, 5, 3, 0. Okay, so that's part 3. Again, play it a couple times in a row to memorize it, and then do all of them, part 1, part 2, and part 3. Your goal is to play it by memory with the correct fingers. Don't rush through it. Don't worry if it doesn't sound like Smoke on the Water and doesn't have the right rhythm. Again, your focus is the correct fingers with the correct notes. And that's it. And of course, try and get them as clear as you can. And then later on, once you get better, we can try and match the timing to this song. Okay, so now that you have an exercise and you have a single note song under your belt, let's add an additional single note song. So another one I like to teach is Seven Nation Army, and we're going to play it all on 1 string. We're going to play it on the A string. So find the A string, it's the 2nd from the top, and then take your index finger and put it on fret number 7 for the A string. A lot of guitars have, every guitar has markers, and you want to use them to quickly get to the proper fret. So since we're jumping up kind of high, we can use the markers to help us. So that's fret number 3, that's fret number 5, and that's fret number 7. And then next would be 9, and then the 2 dots are 12. So let's go to 7. Now for this song, we want to hit 7 twice. 7, 7, and then your ring finger is going to jump over to 10 on the same string, and you're going to go back to 7. So that's part number 1. We're going to break this song into 2 parts. So it's going to be 7, 7, 10, 7. And then part number 2 will be 5, 3, 2. So the fingers, index, index, ring, index, 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 index. There is a more efficient way to play this, which you'll learn a bit later, but right now I want the student to actually move up and down the neck a bit more to get used to that feeling. So that is a typical first lesson. Depending on the student and how quick they learn, I may add in a chord, but keep in mind chords are very difficult to learn for a beginner. They're highly frustrating as well, so typically I'll stay away from that. And if you're just learning the guitar, you should probably stay away from it for a little bit until you develop some calluses, and you can play at least that exercise and those 2 songs smoothly by memory. Good luck. I'll drop another intro lesson in the coming weeks.